point, Algowana and Arul from and DG, they wanted to do a pre-party Sunday evening.
I think Reach should throw a Sunday night party. I'm just saying that.
No, but what I'm saying is Arul wants to put money behind.
I'm in favor of the Sunday night party thing.
Yeah, so we're in the Decipher Telegram chat. I feel like we should triangulate better. I'm talking to Big Beach from AFT. I'm talking to Algoan. I'm talking to Arul. It's kind of this whole entire triangulation thing, and nobody's like firm on it. So Sunday night, we want to figure something out.
All right. Well, Brandon's coming. He'll tell. I have no idea if you're actually planning anything.
I do think that just from my perspective, and again, guys, I've never done Art Basel, but I think that Miami Art Week, I think there are quite a few like public installations. And so if you're going down, like, you know, stay and check out some of the art scene just to see something different. I think at the convention center, there actually are tickets available. And I want to say they're only $50 or $60 to go to the actual convention because the public days happen like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think, from what I understand.
I'm not too good with dollars. What's that, around 25 Algo? That's how I that's my funny. My life now.
You know, by the time of the conference, it might be like 10 Algo.
Oof.
Kelly, earlier today we were talking with Chris about the very beginning of Algorand and how there was this Boston connection. Can you just tell everybody how you and Chris and all the crew around Algorand started in Boston?
Uh-oh.
You want to know how long I've known Chris Swenner for?
Yeah.
Swenner, what are we calling this? Like, are we calling it a solid dozen years yet or no?
It's been a long time. I've known Kelly for a very long time. This is why she gives me so much crap, because we know each other so well.
Chris and I overlapped at a startup years and years and years ago in Boston. And, you know, Boston, I've born and bred Boston, so I've been here forever. And, you know, Boston has like a really cool tech scene. There's like large established enterprises, like bigger technology companies, right? And then there's also like it's got a good healthy startup scene and good funding. And so we were at a startup together years and years ago. And then, you know, Algorand, it was really funny. I remember running into Chris probably 3 or 4 years back, and I was talking about how I had fallen it back into a startup in Boston based on blockchain, and he met me out for a drink and gave me a crash course in blockchain because I was coming in a little bit hot. And yeah, it's been a ride since. But Boston's like a very friendly. It's a small community here, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it actually. I lived in Boston in 2007 back then, and yeah, I always remember good memories from the whole environment, academics and like libraries. And it's amazing.
That's right.
So Brandon just wrote me, and he said that we can figure something out on Sunday if people want. So.
All right, let's get a venue. We got money to throw at it.
Hey Kelly, it's Eldar. Sorry, I know I've been pestering you on ISDA issue, but it has been quite a while since the community got an update on ISDA, and we've been promised December last year that something will come earlier this year, and we are now in November. Nothing really, it was communicated as of yet.
Yeah, after we had that last chat, I did ping our economics team here and some of the economists who are at the economists who are at the foundation, and that there's work there. The thing is that ISDA moves slowly, and also like it's a lot of work to do what they're trying to do, and someone has to build that, and then I'm not sure there's a total guarantee that ISDA is going to take it and use it. So there's there's like a lot of POC type work. Like it's, you know, it's like moving a small country. I mean, there's so much money that flows in and out of there, so they're not fast moving. I did ping our economists on that have been involved in the ISDA work, and like there's progress, but it moves at astronomically slow pace.
Do you think it would be possible to get a similar update that we had in, I want to say June 2020? There was an update from Algorand team on that work that they've been doing thus far. I mean, I know that work with ISDA started in September 2019. I mean, I get the complexity of the overall project, probably better than most of people in community just because of my background. But at the same time, 2 years plus, working with someone and not having, kind of, a bit more concrete update is, I won't say it's a red flag, but it's just be disappointing considering the time that has passed.
And I'm just not sure that's like a red flag when it comes to Algorand or ISDA, right? Like there's there's two parties involved there. So I think, there's some that can be done from this, but it's also worth asking some of the foundation folks who are involved in some of the economists at the foundation to see if there's been any traction with them on there, because I know it's sort of being tackled from a couple different fronts.
Got it. Thank you.
So we have John Clark here, the co-founder of AlgoFi. As you guys know, I work with AlgoFi, and I've been trying to get him to come onto this call. I hope he can jump in here, maybe share some updates, and if you guys want to ask about AlgoFi, I'm going to bring him in. So yeah, introducing John Clark.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more.
Sure, yeah. So great to be here. It's honestly a shame that it's taken this long. It's been a lot of stuff we've been working on in the last few weeks to get our application out. We sort of, at this point, I guess for some background for people that don't know what we're building a lending market on Algorand that's going to function a lot like the DeFi equivalents on Ethereum and Solana. But taking advantage of Algorand's, what we believe is Algorand's superior technology, we think we can build a much more compelling product. So we spent a lot of the last, we started building in August, and before that, I came from a trading background with my co-founder. So we, knew how to program, but a lot of it was learning AVM, Teal, learning that environment, working with the core developers at Algorand. But since then, we've gotten a lot done. We're actually, at this point, we're halfway through our mainnet audit with runtime verification, looking to finish that up in the next few weeks. And then, thanks. Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, so much has happened so quickly. But honestly, Algorand Inc.'s been great. Like, they've been super responsive to questions that we have, features that need to be implemented in the AVM. They've been very receptive of our feedback. And we've, for the people that have been following us, we've actually deployed to the test net 3 times, each with new features that have come from AVM upgrades or, insights that we've made on how to better utilize the AVM for a more sleek lending and borrowing platform. So yeah, I'm going to be speaking a little bit more concretely about like timeline for next few weeks. We're kind of deciding when we'd like to launch, thinking about early liquidity provision, sort of rewards programs. Eventually, we want to get governance online in early 2022. So yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I kind of ran through a lot there, but
John, I think you guys are coming down to Decipher, right?
Yeah, so the whole team's going to be there.
Hell yeah.
I'll be there. My co-founder Owen. We hired 2 people in the last few months. We hired a really strong engineer, Paul, who spent several years at Citadel, and before that, another prop trading shop. So he's been instrumental. And we recently hired someone named Maxim, coming over from Bridgewater, who's a very sharp software engineer. And Ibu's been leading our marketing effort. So we'll all be there.
Whole
It's really
squad.
cool. Love to actually like dig down deeper into what you're building. See if there's any way that we can tie into the stuff we're building.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal is launch. We want to be the first lending market on Algorand and offer very compelling products. But I think after that, the next steps are getting governance online so that the community can start managing the protocol and also make it composable so that other protocols can leverage our lending, basically our liquidity pools. So for example, like any DEXs that come online that want to offer leverage or need access to liquidity to facilitate trading can sort of add us to their group transaction structures for the AVM transactions. But yeah, I'm really excited. And we'll actually be speaking on Tuesday. There's going to be a DeFi panel in the morning where a lot of the early DeFi community is going to be speaking. So I'll be chatting there along with a few other people, some people from Yieldly, Folks Finance, a couple other people. I think we also have Venue One, Tiny Man. Yeah, it's going to be a good crew.
I'm looking forward to that panel quite a bit. Should be interesting.
Yeah, honestly, like the thing that's cool about Algorand is that the DeFi builder community is very small right now. So actually, I somewhat know the people that are going to be on this panel through just like talking to them about what they're building, but also just getting advice on strategies for implementing features. So it'll be exciting to connect with them and talk about what they've been working on. Like the recent changes in AVM, the AVM 1.0 was actually huge for what we're building with the creation of inner transactions and the merging of escrow accounts, like stateless and stateful contracts essentially got merged. So, AVM is becoming, it's starting, the usability of it is becoming a lot like Solidity, which is a very easy environment to develop in, but AVM preserves the performance of Algorand, which of course is much better than Ethereum.
When AVM 1.0 that came out, we were able to actually optimize the output of reach by like almost like 30 or 40%. So it was a good efficiency increase for sure.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Kelly, go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to say, I think next on the roadmap on the tech side, so we're thinking about, we're currently writing governance contracts, and one of the very interesting features that's coming out in the AVM are contract-to-contract calls. So right now, smart contracts can do payment and asset transfer transactions. So they can essentially send crypto, but they can't, like Solidity, like basically Solidity operates in like the object-oriented paradigm where contracts can call functions on other contracts and users can call functions on contracts. Algorand's a little different where it's more about sending transactions that either get accepted or rejected, hence the name TEAL, Transaction Execution Approval Language. The cool feature that is currently being built that we'll take advantage of is contract-to-contract calls. So that will allow people to essentially vote on a change to a protocol, and then contract-to-contract calls will allow the governor contract to call an update function on the lending market, which will allow for these changes to take place. So we'll start to be able to build governance portals a lot like the ones we see on Ethereum, like the Compound or Uniswap Govy portals.
We're the same, but better. I love it. What about on-ramping fiat? How are you handling that, if at all? Or are you relying on folks to handle that before they get to you?
Right, good question. So that's something that we've been parallelizing on. We're talking with a provider that has recently onboarded, just recently, it was like the last week, they've onboarded Algorand and Algorand standard assets. So the early part of 2022, we're laser focused on get the protocol out and then get governance online because we want to rapidly decentralize and have utility for our governance token. And the second piece that we're working on is on-ramping. So we'll build a service to allow people to move their funds in and out of Algorand DeFi. And we're kind of thinking of the structure for that, but honestly, it just makes sense to offer the service almost at cost, because the thing with Algorand is that it operates at some level like a sort of closed off ecosystem. So making it easier to get money into it is a net positive for all protocols. But I think the big vision is, on-ramping services will definitely be helpful, but we're looking forward to when a bridge comes online that connects Solana and Ethereum to Algorand, because at that point, billions of dollars of liquidity will be able to migrate and take advantage of the exciting opportunities in Algorand DeFi. And I think over the next year or two, there's going to be so many things built by the community. There's going to be a lot of compelling things to take advantage of. So I think that's the inflection point for Algorand DeFi when we get a compelling bridge online. And so I think the foundation has a grant now that's supporting that. So that's a good thing. It's a net positive.
And we have Go BTC and Go ETH coming online within like a few days, don't we?
Yeah.
So the thing is, you can only bring one Bitcoin over per transaction. So it's not like someone can bridge over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin or Ethereum at one time, but still could be a nice first step in the direction of getting more value on chain, and also tying those other chains into Algorand, and kind of like having that sticky money accumulate. I'm really excited for those.
Yeah, I think that Algomint is a great first step. And we've been chatting with Michael Cotton and AJ Milne there. What they built is very compelling. This is gonna, we're even chatting with them about potentially working with them and having, their assets in our liquidity pools. We think that makes a lot of sense. Like if they can start bridging over a lot of this sort of Bitcoin and Ethereum that are not being deployed, that's very good for Algorand.
Can I ask about the Yieldly bridge? Is that functional? Are people using that like often? I'm a little bit confused, like what the difference would be.
So I'm not too savvy on the tech, but my understanding is that Yieldly they have smart contracts that have been audited. I have to speak with Seb and their tech team, but my understanding is it actually is a decentralized bridge. I think while Algomint is a centralized bridge where they're actually sending the crypto to Copper, and then Copper is issuing Algorand standard assets backed by these Bitcoin and Ethereum equivalents. I think the Yieldly bridge, the thing there is, for billions of dollars to migrate, people really want to see a track record, and it needs to become like a gold standard. Like oracles and bridges, some of the major hacks where almost billions of dollars have been stolen have been due to faulty bridges and oracles. So I think that over time, as that becomes more and more accepted, you'll see more flow through that bridge. But if, say, the Wormhole team were to build an Algorand Solana Ethereum bridge, I think the Solana and Ethereum community that currently has most of the liquidity would be more inclined to use that service, because it's been built by a team that is highly vetted. They've built a product that's very successful. There are network effects that make the Wormhole bridge, potentially safer. So I think that's kind of what's going on there.
Awesome, thank you.
But I have to talk to Seb when I get to Miami. Actually, I'm very interested to talk, because they are building they have pretty amazing things. They have a bridge. They also have staking contracts. Like I noticed there's starting to be a bit of a playbook with Yieldly where projects can use their platform to get launched. Like they have the bridge, they have the staking contracts, and they also have connections with MEXC, this exchange, so people can get like liquidity for their token early on.
Yeah, it seems like Yieldly is the go-to place for new projects to distribute their token, I guess as quickly as possible and then as easy as possible. I feel like it kind of, the only flip side is that it gives a lot of the centralization to Yieldly, of like Yieldly having their hands in a lot of pots of projects, you know, Opulus, Smile, I think Freckle, and of course Yieldly themselves. So I guess that's the only thing that I see that may be like a point of weakness, is that a lot of projects are relying on Yieldly to distribute their token through APY. And I'm just wondering what everyone else thinks of that, and like, should that become more decentralized? Should there be more Yieldly competitors down the line to try to make this distribution of tokens for new projects more equal?
I mean, of course, there should be other options, and other options will be coming. I mean, Humble, for one, will have the ability to farm yield as well, or farm liquidity.
Can you give us some more detail about that? Like, what's your plan for that? What's the system going to look like, if you can share it at the moment?
I mean, it's very similar to how Uniswap V2 yield farms actually work, where you just stake the actual liquidity token, and then the coin holder can actually incentivize staking liquidity above the actual initial fees, depending on what type of incentives they want. If they want to actually do, like, you know, a couple 100% for a couple months, or if they want to, say, do it over a year. It's just, you know, whatever they want, and they can actually add extra of their token based off the pairing that they want liquidity provided.
Yeah, really excited for Humble. What's the latest updates on the project? How's development going? Are we going to see a testnet version soon, or maybe there is a testnet version and I missed it?
So we're gonna actually make an announcement at Decipher. But as far as actually what we're on right now, we're actually load testing everything on the testnet to see how many transactions we can cram into a single block and how many actually go through. Right now we're actually limited by the threads of a single machine, so we're building up a better testing machine to be able to really kind of push how many transactions we can send through. But once we do that, we're really close to code freeze to actually send to audit. So you'll start seeing some big changes soon. I mean, honestly, the reason why you haven't seen more testnet experiments or people open it up is because our branding took forever to actually get to a point where we could actually have a brand.
Can I ask a question? I think I asked it in other spaces. You know, you can only sell like 10 ASAs right now in AB2, and they said that it's a limit set by Algorand right now. Do you guys know when that's going to be raised? That's one part of my question.
And smart contracts. That's you can have what, 1,000 ASAs.
You can have 1,000 in your wallet, but you can only
active.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I can give you the exact information about this. So what it is yes, you can hold 1,000. You can mint or hold 1,000 different ASAs. But as far as smart contracts go, they did raise the number of smart contracts you can opt into, but you still actually have a limit of 10 smart contracts that you can create with a single account.
Right.
And be active. They are looking to actually raise that number. I was told that the next 1.1 AVM will actually increase that. I'm crossing my fingers that happens, because that's going to be great. But we'll see exactly what that is, because it's 10 contracts you can have across every application. But they've told me that they're going to increase that number, and they've told me that they're looking into actually removing that limit altogether. So we'll see what happens in the next release.
I'm gonna start praying for that daily. Thank you, Chris.
No problem. You join with me here. Because one of the things that you're going to see with the ABI spec that's going to be releasing with the next patch is that you're going to see a lot more smart NFTs, and every single smart NFT that's created will count against that 10. So it's really important that that limit's increased.
Yeah, in order to truly be competitive with Ethereum, and I'm not actually too savvy on how Solana ecosystem works with opting into apps, but you can go use, dozens and dozens of apps on Ethereum without issue. And my understanding is that for Algorand Inc., they have this limitation as an indirect way to make sure there isn't too much memory being stored on the blockchain so they can maintain their performance. And they're kind of just deciding, like, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a way to make sure the blockchain doesn't get too crowded. And so over time, they can potentially make upgrades and build confidence that they can remove these caps. That's my understanding.
Yeah, you're correct there. I mean, they're either in the process or about finishing a major optimization that allows for a lot of these caps to be raised.
Does anyone have any updates on that 46,000 transactions per second or 2.5 second block time? Are they? Do we think they're going to announce something like that at Decipher, Algorand Inc.?
I would lay dollars to cents that the 10,000 number will be the first step there that's announced and pushed out.
Right. Definitely 10,000. They said 10,000 first. Still would be a huge upgrade. I think I posted about this recently, but it's amazing. If you go on Algo Explorer, you can just see the transactions per hour of Algorand just like pretty much starting to go parabolic, which is just an incredible thing to see. More interesting to me than price accumulation, because then you can really see that more DApps are being deployed, more commands are being executed on the blockchain, more usage. It's really cool to see, coming from, seeing Algo Explorer a year ago with nowhere even close to these numbers. Really, really dope.
Something I don't think got a lot of attention was the announcement about Lofty making a marketplace for fractionalized home ownership NFTs, essentially.
Tell us more. Like, give us some details.
I didn't even hear about it.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, as we have this conversation and we're talking about DeFi, we're talking about onboarding and bridging, and really, like, we're focused on onboarding fiat and getting bridges so that we can have more liquidity. Like John's talking about providing liquidity for other exchanges. Like, everybody needs this liquidity, but yet the largest source of liquidity, like if we pulled this room, we've got a huge pool of crypto assets, I would bet. And if we didn't do anything with those crypto assets, we'd consider, dumb crypto. We're all doing something. We're farming it. We're investing it. We've got it in liquidity pools, something. So it turns into smart crypto for us. Well, Lofty is saying, hey, what if the biggest liquidity pool isn't currently in fiat or in another cryptocurrency? What if the biggest liquidity pool was the equity in your house? And in the US alone, that's multiple trillions of dollars in equity that could instantly be turned into liquidity. So I'm working with a couple of other companies that are working on this problem as well, that say, hey, you've got $120,000 worth of equity in your house. It's just sitting there. It's dumb equity right now. What if we could turn it into smart equity, and you could turn that equity into some kind of liquidity pool, tokenize it, fractionalize ownership, something like that. And Lofty is working on some plans for that, and a couple of other companies are working on plans for that. It looks like where you could digitize your equity in your house and use that in some way, shape, or form, which is pretty cool. That liquidity influx could be massive.
Yeah, it really could. If people can unlock the value of their house and use it as underlying or collateral on chain, it would be massive. It's definitely a really exciting proposition. So I was listening to this podcast lately with SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, and he said this really interesting thing, that the crypto market cap is about 2.5 trillion, but the actual dollars in the system is more around 500 billion. And the rest is just multiplied up with derivatives and, various, I don't even know. I mean, I'm not really an expert, but that kind of surprised me. I thought the 2.5 trillion was, fully backed cash. Like, that was the amount of cash that's poured into crypto. It seems like it's less and it's kind of just inflated up because of what am I trying to say? Because of trading strategies and
Derivatives.
I guess it really derivatives, yeah, and it really told me that what I got from it is that if this is really, it's a 2.5 trillion market cap of crypto, but really there's only 500 billion or so of assets of real fiat and like come into it. There's still so much growth like on the table that I don't think many people really realize like how small it still is.
Speaking on smart money versus dumb money, Chris, were you hopping around Cardano spaces the other day or today, or am I missing something? Because I was in there the other day.
Yeah, definitely. Finding out what's going on with Cardano. See the state of their smart contracts, things of that sort. There's quite a bit of interest as far as actually development goes over there, and I mean, Plutus development and Haskell development is pretty much extremely difficult. So, seeing what's going on over there.
People are like, I don't know, the space I hop in. First of all, do they have a DEX online yet, or they don't? That's my first thing.
They don't have anything.
Yeah, so like people were in the spaces. It was kind of like, I don't want to use the word cultish, but it was a little bit weird because they were like, all like, oh, like we're staking all of our money. It's all there, and it's like that's the way we're using it right now. I'm like, aren't we supposed to get past that and start actually using our cryptocurrencies like day to day? Like I'm using a dozen transactions daily on Algo. Like, isn't that like kind of the goal here? And it was just like very interesting to see another community, which is a lot of people, a lot of money, but they're like already like, in my opinion, behind the curve. Like their NFT community, I'm not sure about. They don't have a DEX. Like it's kind of like 3 months ago on Algo. I don't know. Like I just got into it, I guess 4 or 5 months ago. And like 3 months ago, it was a little bit more quiet. And obviously look at us here, like with the spaces, it's growing daily. But I feel like they're like at that point 3 or 4 months ago, but worse almost because it's a very different community. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know me, I don't like to talk bad about anybody, or I try not to, unless they're egregious. But it's just a different community that believes in different things. The future is a multi-chain future, and everybody has the benefits and what they like, and that's okay. So that's kind of like the way I look at things is that there will always be different communities. There will always be different chains. And our key is to actually make it so developers don't have to care about the underlying technology, and they can build applications for their users and let the actual chains themselves focus on the things that they're really good at, and that's building networks and not onboarding tools.
And maybe I'll just take the break for a quick update on these market cap numbers we're just mentioning before about these 3 trillion and how much is the derivatives market. I'm just following these numbers because, of course, it's also interesting to me. And the derivatives market itself is fluctuating around 100 to 300 billion in terms of, okay, of course, we all know they get stopped out and liquidated when we are dropping, but definitely sure that the 3 trillion is not. So the stake of derivatives is the 10th. Let be 2.7, 2.8 right now. What spot markets is, and derivatives makes up the rest. So it's, I mean, it's a lot, of course, but not the majority.
Yeah, like I said, it's really interesting, and I think it just goes to show that it's really not as late as a lot of people. A lot of people who may have been in the crypto space for a while, and I'm not even one of them. People have been in it for years longer than me. I guess because crypto moves so fast, a few years probably feels like a few decades. But still, in the grand scheme of things, it's like super, super early, and most people don't really understand what's going on here. And I think that's what's really exciting. It's still very small, and so much opportunity, so many tailwinds behind the industry. Over the next few years, probably all these big financial institutions say, yeah, we're going to get into crypto, but we're not ready yet. We don't, we need to get everything ready. Those things. Sorry, I got disconnected, but I think they could fall into place in 2022, and it could be a really exciting time in the blockchain space, especially for DeFi development, like the merging of DeFi and TradFi.
So on your point, Ibu, I just have this thing that I keep asking people, like, is crypto always going to be tied to Bitcoin? Is the Bitcoin always going to have that market dominance? And like, obviously it's been going down year to year, but like, I feel like everybody talks about the market cycles and all this thing, like, oh, this halving cycle, it's 4 years, it's going to be run up and it's going to crash, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just wondering, like, obviously it's impossible to know the answer, but like, does everybody feel like this might be the last cycle where we're really coupled to Bitcoin, and like we're gonna like Algorand specifically, like it's so useful, like it's actually like a functional blockchain. Do you feel like there's going to be like this kind of inflection point where like we decouple from Bitcoin sooner than later? And do people think it's going to be this cycle? Highly philosophical. Anybody want to take it?
Well, if people are thinking about that, it looks like Twitter has spoken. I guess, Brandon, we're going to be throwing a party Sunday night, so figure that out.
That's a good first step.
We're already on it, guys. We're making it happen already. So it's starting to churn, and details will be coming shortly. So if there's one thing we would be happy to do, it's figure out a party.
All right. So you're all invited.
Just counted how many people we have in this room right now. We have actually close to 90 people in this room, which is pretty amazing. Don't you guys remember when we first started these calls? We had some days we were lucky to get 5 extra people besides the hosts.
Yeah, there were like 12 of us total.
It's really amazing, just a little bit of consistency can go a long way. Thank you all for being here. We still got another half hour of the show, so please stick around. We got a few more topics to jump into. Do you guys want to, I guess we can discuss, if I can comment on the point that Jeff's making. My opinion, I'm not an insider on Bitcoin. I don't know like what the price action is going to do. So everything you got to take it with a tiny grain of salt that I'm going to say right now. But I guess just like my speculation is that Bitcoin's here to stay. It's not going to go away. It's the most consistent blockchain around, and the most historical, the most established, and some might say the most secure because of how simple it is to operate. I think it's here to stay. Some people think that quantum computing is going to have a big effect on it. I guess that's yet to be seen. Definitely in theory, it could be detrimental to Bitcoin over time. And I think if the thing is, like, you can't wish for Bitcoin to go to zero, because a lot of the faith in the crypto industry would also go to zero if that were to happen. So we kind of need, I think over time Bitcoin will have less of an impact on other prices, but maybe Bitcoin's like the S&P 500 of crypto, kind of like brings everything up and down with it. Sometimes the S&P goes up and other stocks don't go up, but when the S&P goes down, everything goes down. So I guess right now it compares to that, but it's yet to be seen over the next 5 years whether maybe Algo or some other technology just makes a big splash. That's kind of the beauty of this evolving technology, that you never really know like what the layer 2s or the layer 3s will bring to the table after that layer 1 is built. Like when the iPhone was built, and then you have Uber years later, an app like that, wouldn't really expect that to be one of the killer apps when the iPhone first came out, but here we are. So I guess it's yet to be seen, but I definitely think it's going to be more unpredictable than we anticipate.
Yeah, I'll say it again. The future is a multi-chain future. Even the boomer coins.
Yeah, and when you have technologies like trying to build smart contracts for Bitcoin, they're trying to do something like that in Miami, give interest payments to their citizens and their communities in Bitcoin. There's just going to be, it's more lucrative, it's more interesting, and it's more it's going to advance the society more if we try to build on top of this new technology instead of just scrapping everything and going back to what it was. And part of this new technology, a big part, is Bitcoin. So it's definitely going to have to stick around. But I think as the market develops and more money comes into the market and it's less derivatives heavy, then you'll see altcoins be less tied to Bitcoin, because I think a lot of quant trading just has to do with Bitcoin action tied to altcoins, and quantitative strategies, just trading those pairs back and forth. And usually right now, when Bitcoin dips, the alts will dip a lot heavier. So it's more beneficial if you're a quant trader to trade back into Bitcoin at those times. That's why everything swings so heavily with Bitcoin.
If I can try to answer this question about the correlation with Bitcoin, to me, I remember like even though Ethereum was quite big and strong at the very beginning, the drop of Bitcoin dropped Ethereum with it anyways. So I'm afraid that Bitcoin cycles will still have an impact on all altcoins and Ethereum, obviously. So, and also there is the updates of Bitcoin, like the Taproot or any other one that will come in the future, might trigger something can happen still. So we are still, I think, in a kind of risky market. So it's very difficult to predict, but risks can still happen, and the crypto winter can still happen again. I'm afraid it will drag everything down. Hey, Truck.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Troc Dev or D40, whoever wants to jump in first. Floor's all yours.
Hey guys, this is Truck Dev here. I just wanted to chime in about the whole Bitcoin thing because I do kind of like the whole notion of it being a storage of value, similar to like how gold will be in the future. I mean, nobody's going around transacting in gold anymore, but there was a big time in which all currency was basically backed by gold, and it took a whole new age of technology to even displace that. So Bitcoin eventually will be displaced with some newer currency. However, the time scale of this whole technology, it moves so fast, it's really hard to kind of judge when that will happen. But in all honesty, I mean, you think about it, the only way Bitcoin would ever go down as a currency is if, let's say, the whole entire world's, electricity grid went down. And then at that point, money wouldn't be your biggest concern. So.
Yeah, I mean, my thesis has been for a bit that Algorand will 100% decouple. All we really needed was an automated market maker, so that we could have like inter mingling of ASA trading, so that people didn't really like need anything from the other ecosystems. And once we start building real pairings to Algorand, with other projects of value, like direct pairing to Algorand on this AMA, that I think once people come in here, they're going to realize how much better the actual like use is of the system, and they're not really going to want to leave. So they're just going to keep bringing in liquidity, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on Yieldly, and I just seem to like holler it from the rooftops all the time, is that they are literally just trying to find every way possible to funnel in liquidity. And I could see Algorand like flipping Bitcoin. I know that sounds insane, but I just feel like, to me, it's a much better store of value, and it just works good. So, I mean, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's the gold, and they're making good improvements on it. So it's not just becoming like this archaic like heap of crap. But I think smart money is just every week is going into Algorand, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
Seems to be very smart money, because they somehow can pour a bunch of money in and have the price stay exactly the same. So it's really interesting. I don't really, I don't love to talk about price, but I thought I guess it got listed on a Korean exchange, and the price of Algo on some exchanges went to $5-10 for like 10 minutes, came back down. That kind of stuff is just really interesting for me to see. And I don't know, I don't think those things happen in a vacuum. So it's just people all over the world can make moves, and it's very interesting to see people try to position themselves, maybe pre-decipher, maybe there's some private information that we don't know. I guess we're speculating right now, and so I don't really like to speculate too much in that way, but it's just interesting to see these things develop, and it seems like we're really close to some big announcement from Algorand, but it's yet to be seen like exactly what it is. Some people think CBDC, definitely could be. There's rumors of a CBDC with Brazil. Also, Canada has been looking at Algorand, and a few other countries. So I guess we will see that soon. Chris, do you have any insight on how a nation state or a large corporation could use co-chains to connect their business in a custom way to the main public blockchain? I feel like we have yet to see any big splash in that space, or that sector of the Algorand tech.
So it's difficult because co-chains don't exist to talk about exactly how they're going to work. But in theory, what would be is that it's a permission chain that is interoperable with a public chain through a centralized bridge. Like the whole idea of it would be that they would have full control over the internal, the actual chain itself, and would have their own validators, so they could really do whatever they want. So it would just be a more centralized version of it. It could be that they choose to do some type of federated validators, where that it's not just a single person, but maybe like a multi-sig to actually control everything. But the whole idea would be so that they have their own chain that with complete own powers, with the ability to easily bridge to a public chain. Most nation states, most large corporations, most large centralized product that want to get into blockchain see this as the only way. I disagree with them, but you didn't ask me that.
I'm just really, I speculate all the time about which companies would want to jump into something like that. Eldar was talking about ISDA earlier, and I think it probably will take a long time for them to build that product of swaps and derivatives. But we have things like FXDX coming out, which may provide a launch pad, or maybe not a launch pad, but a marketplace for them to for people to trade those derivatives. And I guess Eldar, can you give us a bit of insight on why you think the ISDA partnership is so significant?
Hey guys, sorry, I'm actually in the middle of COVID episode, so excuse me being out of breath. But yeah, with regards to ISDA, so it's super important because from where I'm standing, it is literally the biggest project anywhere. I mean, including crypto and outside of the crypto space. For people that don't know what ISDA is, it's effectively and derivative market that controls the way the swaps are done amongst corporations, and I'm talking big guys, so and not only corporations but also the governments and and large institutions. So it operates. Last time I checked, it's something like 75 countries and over 1,000 corporations and governments are basically their partners. So when anyone does any trade and want to do any derivative, there is something called ISDA Master Agreement, and that effectively regulates the way those terms and conditions are coined out as the trade is done. So as an example, let's say you are to do a 2 billion trade in Japan, which is basically backed by the mortgages, but you are issuing in euros or in dollars, you would want to effectively make sure that you are doing on daily basis collateral evaluation in order to make sure that the collateral that is backing that bond is equivalent to the bonds outstanding. So, now without boring you about the specific details, what you need to do, you need to make sure that you have FX component, that you have collateral component, and there could be other different things as well added to it, verified on daily basis, making sure that you effectively are guaranteeing bondholders that the collateral is at all times equivalent to the to what is effectively outstanding. Now, when it comes to the blockchain, technology, and effectively, you can see very easily how this can be streamlined, and where you can effectively, with the smart contracts, bring valuation into very streamlined way without having to having the lawyers, accountants and so on, basically wasting a lot of time, evaluating this, confirming it, and so on. And then, as an example, that's probably a good way of thinking about it. But now you're thinking that this particular, derivative. And just to be clear, it's not a derivatives that we, as a crypto kind of enthusiast, most of the people just think the derivatives are kind of in crypto space, which are, big. That is peanuts compared to what ISDA is. And we are talking about 1 quadrillion in size. Now, 1 quadrillion is effectively, you put gold market, real estate market, bond market, equity market, everything that you know of, and you don't even come close to that 1 quadrillion. Hence me, saying at the beginning, it is literally the biggest, the partnership that you can imagine. And probably why I'm so obsessed with it as well, and why I have been harassing Kelly for the update for quite a long time. And due to this daily mark to market of these derivatives, it is actually quite good for Algorand in particular if it gets working on it, because the transactions, daily transactions that we will see on it will be humongous. And obviously the more transactions we have, Algorand being utility token, we should see the increase of value. And obviously the kudos of having it on the as one of the Algorand or the only Algorand partner that they are working with. I mean, saying that, obviously Corda is working with ISDA as well, but to my knowledge, they are not a public blockchain, but they are kind of whatever they are internal. I'm not really sure how they present themselves. So I'm a bit wary of that partnership that they have in parallel going with, but to my knowledge, the Algorand is the only public blockchain that is working with them. Hope I didn't make it too complicated.
No. And I think that would ISDA be one of the bodies that would look to use a co-chain to have their transactions be more secure and private? Or do you think they would just go straight onto the public mainnet?
I mean, well, I would imagine there would have to be, obviously the testnet that they need to, make sure that this is working perfectly. I mean, it's so complex and multifaceted that, you would have to have effectively every exchange out there connected to the Algorand. You would have to, the companies like Deloitte or whoever is the value, the valuation companies of this collateral, because usually is collateralized, be it in equities or or it could be actually even the derivatives, which can be also what we used to call the derivative squared, effectively in investment banking, where you effectively take derivative market and you are basically packaging it together and then you're issuing it again. But anyway, without making it too complex, the point being is that it cannot happen overnight. It will happen as we know, the Algorand has been working with them for 2 years. I would imagine that, given the complexity, this is not going to happen, for next 2 to 3 years. But at the same time, what I would like to see is that regular updates, making sure that there is something, happening there, and that they are indeed working with them.
Yeah, really interesting stuff there. Because we have yet to see if it really takes off. You've got about 10 minutes left of the call. I was wondering if anyone would maybe want to end on a bit of a fun note, like an NFT chat, new series, or like any cool initiatives that we've been having. I know we have Monty's climate nerd NFTs, but what other cool series are you guys looking at? And
I see Jeff wants to chime in already. He can't contain himself.
Never. This man can never contain himself. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I like the Algo rhymes. Do you guys see that, where you make your own radio station?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that was cool. I thought I'm going to shut up top. But there was another thing that it's not related to Algorand. But did you guys discuss the Constitution Dow, or did I miss that? Because I said on other spaces.
No, we didn't touch on it, I don't think.
We didn't touch on it. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, Chris, you were probably in the other space when I talked about it, but it was super interesting. Like, Ethereum crowd, they put together a bunch of money from the DAO. It was a little bit sloppy, a little bit quick. I mean, very quick, 2 weeks. But they got like $45 million to buy the Constitution. They got outbid, obviously, but it was super interesting. Like, I was in a spaces like with another ETH guy that I hop around spaces. I was with a space with an ETH guy. He invited me up to talk. Kimball Musk was up there talking, and it was like a bunch of other like celebrities and stuff like that. It was like very heavy duty, actually. 5,500 people in the spaces. And it was like after like it got rugged, I went back in there was still like 2,000 people. I started saying, hey, like, I love what this idea was. It really did open up my mind about like, wow, we could put together a DAO and buy the Constitution. That like was mind-boggling. And I respect ETH for doing something like that, even though they were all crying about the gas fees, because if you contributed $100, $200, like, your money's basically gone. But it was super interesting. I was like, man, if we could have the DAO tooling on Algo, this would be so much better. No gas, mint fees. But yeah, that was very interesting.
Hey guys, anyone knows how come we have like 1.5 million addresses created in last month? I mean, anyone can speculate on this?
I told a lot of my friends.
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess one theory I have is that if there were to be a CBDC or something comparable in play, the government body would want to set up those wallets pre-announcement and get them like ready for people to use. But really, that's just a theory that I have. Bilal, can you mute? Yeah, so that's just a theory I have that maybe it's some type of maybe not a CBDC, but a large scale application that wants to set up Algo wallets as a backend and build their own front end on top of it, and they need to create a bunch of wallets and fund them, with a minimum balance, to get that going. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just say in general, like when I was switching over to like speaker mode, like it cut out for a second, so I may have missed a little bit what you said. But whenever you see a big spike in accounts like that, it's kind of a given. It's either an exchange onboarding accounts. So basically, anyone, any exchange onboarding will, in many cases, they'll set up the hot deposit accounts for their users all up front in some cases. So you'll see some exchanges that support like USDC, USDT. You'll see the opt-in transactions and the creations of all those accounts all en masse. And then, of course, whenever there's a new application coming online, then that are, like Smile, like Grin Gaming and all that kind of stuff. Or actually, a better example would have been like Props, when they were seeding all their accounts for their users. Then you could potentially have millions of accounts created that way. So that's usually what you'll see.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think we have yet to see companies really expand the usability and break down the barriers to entry to making an Algo wallet. So I'm really excited to see how how a company or multiple companies tackle that issue of onboarding people into the ecosystem. When I've tried to get friends and family into Algo, if I tell them I'm into it, they're like, oh, I want to get into it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's sit down, make a wallet. It's always the hardest part of the process. Once you have the wallet done, you can jump onto any D app and get going. But it's really that initial onboarding that is, sometimes too confusing, too obscure for people to even want to bother with.
So you think even the Algorand wallet is a bit much for people?
No, I'm just saying for someone who's new to crypto, even making a wallet, like they wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know how to really get going with that. Like it's just something that seems really easy and natural to us, but it's quite obscure to anyone who's not actually in this world.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, well, I would say the mnemonics are the biggest thing that trip people. And like I get random DMs. Like it feels like sometimes I'm like the Algo help desk, but I get random DMs from people like all the time. It's pretty common actually for people to lose their mnemonics. I had someone DM me last night, I think it was in Discord, who created their own coin. I forget which one it was, and they it was already like on Tiny Man and everything, and they lost their keys.
Whoa!
So it's like, yeah. So it's the thing is people who even supposedly you'd think would know better, it happens. So yeah, I mean, there's people who have tried to like, oh, well, it's just your phone is your phone or your keys, your phone number or your keys, things like that. But then that just means they're still doing the same stuff. They're just hiding it from you, which I'm not as big of a fan of.
There's somebody on Algorand NFT talk. Like there's a very, very big collector of NFTs that has never backed up his keys, and he was only on the phone. Everyone was like, "What?"
Does he know that the phone does not back them up?
I mean, we all let them know. We were like, "You need to." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I've been wanting to get around to that." Like, what do you mean wanted? Like, this is something that you need to stop doing right now and go do.
Yeah, people don't realize that. Like the Algorand wallet, like if you they might think, oh, the phone itself is being backed up, and I'll restore the phone and I'm good. No, like the Algorand wallet, when you back it up to iCloud or whatever, and you get a new phone, restore it, you will get back nothing. None of that.
Wait, you need the keys, obviously. Wait, people don't know that?
Yeah, no, I mean, they think it's like, it's in the wallet, and I enter my PIN code or whatever, but they think that's all being backed up.
Wow, my heart just dropped.
It is explicitly not backed up. Same thing with my Algo, right? Like people like clear their cache and their browser data all the time, and are like, what happened to my wallet? I mean, that's the thing is I think it's hard to stress that these apps should make it really, really clear that those mnemonics are literally the one thing you have to protect above all else.
Kind of like
make it very, very clear to people.
It's kind of like drinking water, bro. It's like if you don't even do that basic safety of like taking care of yourself, because me, I love the safety of all that, being your own custodian, and I think a lot of people underestimate it. And when they get to the backing up and setting up of their wallets in general, they're just in a rush to buy or in a rush to get it over with. And it's like, you don't rush through sitting down at the bank. Like, if you have to go to the bank to do something, it's like you're going to sit there with someone and you're going to talk and you're not going to like it and it's going to be annoying, but you're going to solve the fucking problem. Excuse me. And it's just I hate to sound like a old person. It's like being an adult. It's like being a custodian. If you can't keep track of your own shenanigans, then yeah, it hurts me when I hear people be very cavalier. I'll respectfully say that, but it hurts me when people are really cavalier with, oh yeah, my wallet's and I don't what are my keys? I'll just make another wallet. I'm like, what?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that doesn't that kind of
What
drive the point
happens?
home?
I hit him with my story of, well, what happens when your phone breaks and you can't quick swap everything over? What happens if someone steals your phone?
I mean, I think that kind of drives the point home that people don't actually understand it, right?
I had to beg, dude. I had to beg a DApp and just prove to them, beggingly. And I was like, this is me. I'm not trying to scam my own account. I broke my phone like an idiot, and I'm new. So could you please unsmite myself?
But
Because I
here's the
couldn't
question.
access. I didn't back up my two-factor. That was literally yeah. So
I have a opinion on this, but I would love to hear your guys' opinion on it. What's more risky? A centralized backup of actually mnemonics, or relying on people not knowing what they're doing to back up their own mnemonic?
It's a double-edged sword. If you choose one, it's up to people's individual responsibility.
You're like asking, do I cut off my left leg or my right leg?
But like,
exactly.
You guys want to
It's
hear
more
something
like
funny?
cut off your left leg or your left arm. Which one? Which one do you not want?
I bought some. This is a funny story, but like why I don't like centralized exchanges for like holding and stuff, because I keep most of my algo on my algo. You know?
Yeah, the thing is if you are in these rooms at all on a daily basis for like years, you realize that for the majority of people, the centralized exchanges is actually safer for them.
Oh yeah, definitely. It doesn't surprise me how much Bitcoin is lost and how much crypto in general is lost because of people's just mistakes. Nothing
Or
even like,
scams. People get
or
scammed
scam.
and people give up their mnemonics every single day. If you're in Telegram every single day, or virtually, someone's saying they basically got scammed.
Is that a O or a 0? Like I FUD myself every single time I have to write out a 0 or an O. I'll copy and paste each of them into another format.
Yeah,
That's why
I mean,
you never type things in yourself.
No, never.
Yeah, I'll always copy paste. I mean, at least on Algorand, we don't have to deal with some of the complexities that other chains have to deal with. My friend, this is actually a true story from a few days ago. He had some funds on Phantom, and he's not like he knows about crypto, and I got him into it, but he's still not like clearly wasn't like well versed enough to be doing this transaction where basically on Phantom they have what look like Ethereum addresses, but they're Phantom addresses. He took his DAI from Phantom and tried to send it to his Coinbase DAI hot wallet, and it just lost $1,000 for him, like basically because that he thought it was the same address sending from Phantom to mainnet Ethereum, but he forgot to bridge it back. I felt really bad for the guy because it's this kind of thing that's unless it's really hard to find out that info. And there's like so many hiccups in the road to expanding DeFi just like that.
Yeah, scary.
I was gonna be, I'm relatively new to DeFi, and I was gonna say as like a proxy, like to me, while these sound like really dumb errors and mistakes, they also represent like barriers to entry for mainstream adoption, right? Like these are things that people don't think about when they go to a normal bank or a centralized kind of traditional solution. And if we really want to get to a place where we have normies that are able to really take advantage of the scale and mass adoption that we need to get to, like these are the kind of solutions. I just hear a bunch of like opportunities, if you will, for solutions to come in and streamline some of these things so that it's not easy to lose thousands of dollars, and that it's not a regular occurrence. It's not something that you hear all the time, right? I mean, it's like, if you think about credit card fraud
even 20 years ago, and then hearing about that now, it's almost, extinguished, right? Because they're taking away the risk from your average user who just, you gotta assume, is not that smart in general, and making it accessible, safe, and reliable enough that they don't have to be worried about leakage and losing money. And so, I think it represents a lot of opportunity. Is what's exciting about it. It's a lot of upside.
Definitely agree. And I think this kind of calls into question one of the pillars of blockchain, which is that if we want the ramps and the guardrails to be there for mainstream adoption, the question is like, what's more important, true decentralization and anonymity, or some type of centralization where people who have problems can go to? We would not be able to deal with credit card fraud if you couldn't have your bank monitoring your transactions and send you a notification when they think something's up. I mean, it does leave a lot of space for innovation. Maybe if there's some type of blockchain service that has encrypted passwords and can somehow handle all these different things. I don't really know, but I think it's just that kind of presents a fork in the road. Like, do we want to trust people individually, or do we want to, like you were saying, Chris, it's either the passwords are hosted in a centralized space, or we just trust people individually. There's two weak points there. It's either the centralized source or the individual. If we leave it to individuals, there's a lot more chance for things to go wrong, but each thing that goes wrong has a lesser impact on the greater society, the greater community. If we leave it to a centralized authority, we might be able to fix problems, but there's a much greater risk of a large scale mistake. So yeah, it's like
I'll take just.
But personally, I don't see a big dilemma in this, because we just need to give the user the option. Like, some users don't care about decentralization and like having their private key, etc. And some really care, like us. I think we're just giving the user the option to grow the market, because we need to target the masses that don't really care about private keys. And I think giving the user the option is just a simple way to get over this problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
Is probably the best way. I am fairly new to this as well. I know of blockchain and everything from past years, but I see a lot of people afraid to get into it just because of, like you said, the keys and all that. So I think given the option of having an offsite or a secondary option for storage is good.
Yeah. Say centralized stuff is difficult. Having your keys is difficult. Like right now, I don't keep stuff on Coinbase much.
But the thing is that having the keys and stuff like that, or having, doing that yourself is a very big deterrent, I think, from a lot of folks. I think there's just going to be a limit to where the DeFi world can go, maybe,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you got a point there. DeFi will be limited if there aren't significant innovations on making it easier to jump in. And I think over the years, we'll have more traditional finance companies and groups build those on-ramps and build their security and their centralization on top of the blockchain. The blockchain will be more used for transaction speed and transparency, not really about the decentralization, but that's okay. Blockchain is not always about decentralization in every aspect. It's decentralized in validators and storage, but it doesn't necessarily have to be decentralized in terms of who controls a protocol, and that's really up to the user if they want to use a decentralized or a centralized protocol.
I agree. It's a wide world. There are folks who are going to want to be, take the safer path or what we consider to be safer, and some who will take the path of ease, the path of least resistance there. And I think it should be there should be options. Even in our chat, one of our AlgoFam chats, we had somebody who posted in the other day. They're like, "Hey, I just bought a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT. How can I make sure it's real?" And the responses were like, "Oh man, unless you spent a couple $100,000 or whatever, this wasn't real." And I was surprised to see that in one of our chats, which I like to think of as pretty well educated folks. We do our best to kind of educate the masses, but you just got to be careful. I know we're pressing for time though. I was hoping we could end on like a lighthearted note. And Ebo, like right before we started this whole thing, you're like, "Hey, anybody want to play these games with me? Can we talk about the games on Algorand now on that platform?"
Yeah, sure. So this is called Zone GameFi or Zone XTZ, and they are a DeFi company that's building wagers into games that we like to play. So the first thing they launched on testnet was chess. So I challenged Bilal before this call, one algo wager on a game of chess. I think that stuff is pretty cool. I'm excited to see them expand to different games. They have Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends on the table. So, it'll be cool to, you get a few friends together to play a game of Counter-Strike or League. And it's like, hey, let's all bet 10 algo for like a 100 algo pot. And whichever team wins gets that 100 algo. It's really, really fun stuff like that can bring a lot of users in. So I'm excited for it.
Also, Zone XTZ is built with Reach.
Well, there you go. That's why it works so well. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I love this kind of different approach to DeFi, not always about the financials, not always about markets, and just more about entertainment and how to use crypto in a fun way. Pretty cool.
Definitely.
If anyone wants to challenge me in chess on Zone testnet, feel free to send me a DM and I will get a game going with you.
But those are just testnet algos, though.
True.
Don't take all the testnet algos.
Hey, they're kind of scarce. I mean, I know with AlgoFi, like it's actually really hard to borrow algos from the protocol because there's like only a few hundred on the table available. So yeah, I mean, if I can, I will gladly take all your testnet algos if I can.
Actually, if the dispenser stops working, they will gain some value. That would be very funny, like the Kusama chain.
Oh, by the way, that kind of reminds me. Does anyone know why wrapped algo is worth less than an algo?
Yeah, like the wrapped algo stuff is kind of weird. I think it's a double-edged sword for them because in order to get wrapped algo, you create your own vault to be able to get the wrapped algo. You deposit algo, get back wrapped algo. The key is that vault, in a sense, is yours. And when you come back at any point in time and put in wrapped algo to get back algo, you get back rewards that were there. So it's a way of using. So it's a way of escrowing your algo, but being able to reuse it and still get the rewards. Can't put back in what you took out. So you can't use wrapped algo in tons of ways, trade with Staker Dow wrapped algo vault. You can only convert back what you converted. So if you took out 100 wrapped algo, the only thing you can get back is 100 algo through it. So the tiny man ends up being kind of the only way to switch back and to switch from an excess of wrapped algo to algo. That makes sense? And that's why there's, I think, a discrepancy.
So wrapped algo is a bit of a derivative yield-bearing asset for algo, but not actually tied to the algo price. Like if the algo price goes up, wrapped algo will stay lower.
Well, I mean, the problem is it's still 1-to-1 when you unwrap it, but to use it outside of that vault for just yourself, then it kind of has less value, because if through trading other things you end up with a bunch of wrapped algo, unless you first wrapped algo yourself, there's no way for you to get it back as just straight 1-to-1 algo. So I think it's just an option. It's just a side effect of the fact that there's that friction on unwrapping the wrapped algo natively, because you have these like per user vaults. So it's kind of interesting. Like there's people who've talked about kind of interesting, tricky ways of doing really well with those sort of arbitrage differences. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I haven't really devoted time to it. I'm like really busy, so I haven't really gotten into it. But it does seem like there's some interesting things going on there.
Honestly, I'm not really getting it, but I haven't really touched it. So, I'm just not fully educated. I'm just not really understanding like the point of it. Why would you use wrapped algo on the algo ecosystem when you could just use the algo?
Well, because you're kind of double dip in a sense, right? Like if you could be collecting rewards on algo that you can lock up somewhere else. So like technically you could get wrapped algo, collect rewards on the algo that's in the vault, use the wrapped algo on something like AlgoFi, and lend that out for additional, as collateral to get something else back that you then use in like TinyMan. So basically it's just a way of kind of doing a different type of yield farming where you still get back the participation rewards and the original collateral, whereas normally you would lose that.
Okay, gotcha. Really interesting stuff. Curious to see how it catches on. We've been going for about 2 hours. Does anyone have any closing remarks before we wrap this one up? And next Sunday, we will be doing an in-person stream of this call. So really excited for that. The first ever in-person AlgoFam Sunday chat. So everyone make sure you check out that next Sunday, the day before Decipher starts. Really excited for this week, guys. I mean, this is the week before Decipher. I think it's going to be really, really hot energy, really electric. But also, it's Thanksgiving, so make sure to spend some time with loved ones this week, and get some good food and enjoy ourselves, because we're about to be down in Miami, a lot of us. So make sure we enjoy the time with the fam while we can.
Another great session, everyone.
Do you guys know where the Sunday event's going to be yet?
We're figuring that out right now. We're trying we're trying to get the sponsors, see how big a party we can make it, and then once we know how big a party we can make it, then we.
No, I was talking about the fam chat.
Oh, well, I was talking about the actual Sunday night party that somebody today told me I needed to put on.
Oh no, because we were literally just talking about we're doing the in-person.
I think the in-person is going to be at our Airbnb, like a block north of the event or something like that. Poolside, except for Bilal, who we're going to have to put like his face on a picture of the computer or something. I don't know.
Or just cry alone here.
Right. I think it's going to have to be a little later in the day, though. Then we'll go right from that to wherever Reach and Algo are having the party at.
you guys need to get one of those like an iPhone on a stick,
right?
You know, and well
Selfie
on
stick,
the
that's illegal.
what was it?
Yeah.
From Silicon Valley or whatever, or the remote iPhone on wheels. You can have him be his telepresence, right?
Yeah. We need that. We need that. We need that.
Yeah. So for sure, Benji from Algorand is going to throw money in for the part, Chris. It's just a question of talking to the other gentleman, setting up the
Okay.
rest of the budget wise. But yeah, it's definitely ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's actually quite a few people that this should be. I'm not going to speak too soon, but there's a good chance this is going to be a really good party.
Well, parties.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's gonna be a fun party. We'll make it good.
It's all about the
As
people.
long as y'all are there,
Promise.
we'll be good. Yeah, exactly.
It's all about the
I'm
people.
sure it will be.
All right. With that, guys, I think we can wrap it up. So be sure to stay tuned to everyone who is a speaker in this chat. Follow them on Twitter if you want updates. Everyone's approaching Algorand from a different angle, and it's gonna be a big week. Enjoy Thanksgiving, and see some of you down in Miami. Be sure to tune in next Sunday for that special Sunday call. And just can't wait to see you all soon.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure again. Talk to you soon. And I will be
Algo
following live one.
representatives, bro. Floridian
You
Algo
need to put
holders.
it on YouTube. You need to put it on YouTube next week so I can see you.